here we go. New art journal page. Alright, so I'm still working in my the art journal that a friend of mine made for me, and this little center inclusion piece was actually part of an envelope, and I wanted it to be open, so I tore it off a little bit, and then I just started journaling. This is straight onto raw paper. There's no gesso, there's no paint, it's just a marker and really curly handwriting, so you guys can't read all the words that I'm using. And it was just free journaling. There was nothing planned out. There was nothing. It was just I was thinking, and as I was thinking, it was coming out of my pen. Or marker, I guess I should say. So the nice thing about this is it creates this really cool background texture at a certain point once I'm done writing it. But yeah, I like this technique. Plus it feels really good to just write sometimes. I'm so used to typing. I type everything all the time. I'm a really fast typist, but I'm not so great with the handwriting. So yeah. Then I wrote sideways just to make it even that much more illegible. And there you have that. So then I grabbed some Liquitex clear gesso. I didn't want to use regular gesso. I know I could have done like a wash of gesso, but I wanted it to be visible, this layer. And I knew that all the layers I would end up adding would end up doing a lot of covering anyway, so I didn't want to start by covering. And then of course I forgot to turn my camera back on, and so I'm just doing the same thing I did previously. I am adding some Salty Ocean Distress Paint. Or the first one was Broken China. This one is Salty Ocean. And I'm blending them out with a baby wipe like Vicky P does. This didn't work so well on clear gesso because clear gesso is so very gritty. It feels like sandpaper, and white gesso does not have that same texture, so it shredded my baby wipe and didn't really come up that well. So then I added some weathered wood distress paint and did the same thing. Now this is Vaseline, just straight up petroleum jelly, and I'm sure you guys have seen this on the internet before. I figured I would give it a shot, so why not? So what I'm doing is I'm just applying it randomly here and there with a palette knife, and then I am covering the entire page in white acrylic paint. And this is titanium white. I want to say it's some cheap brand. Probably Artist Loft from Michaels. So it doesn't have to be a really good white acrylic paint. It can just be any old acrylic paint. So the theory here with the Vaseline or the petroleum jelly is that the acrylic paint dries slower on the Vaseline. And so once the paint has dried on the paper around the Vaseline, theoretically you're supposed to leave this to dry, and I'm way too impatient for that, so I let it dry as much as I let it dry, and then I took a baby wipe and started wiping it up. But you're supposed to let it dry completely and then wipe everything up, and it gives you this really funky, rustic looking effect. So it's really cool. I like it, but there were some issues with it, and I'll get into those in just a minute. But so as you can see, the areas where the Vaseline are wiping right up because the paint didn't stick to the paper. It stuck instead to the petroleum jelly, and so it just wipes right up. So like I said, it gives this really cool effect. However, and I'm going in, I'm doing the same thing. This time I'm going to add a layer of silver, and I'm making sure that I'm putting, wherever you put the Vaseline or the petroleum jelly is what's going to show through. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm going to let some of the blue show through, I'm going to let some of the white show through. I want to get this really funky, crackly type of effect. So this is Liquitex Basics Silver acrylic paint. And this acrylic paint is not very opaque, as you can see. So I had to put on a very thick layer, and I just walked away from it and let it dry for about an hour, and it still wasn't completely dry because of the extremely thick layer I did. And this time around I did one side and then dried it completely and then flipped it and did the other side. So the problem I had with this technique, other than the fact that I'm hideously impatient and did not want to let it dry, is that because you're using petroleum jelly, it almost acts like beeswax in that when you heat it, it melts. And no matter what I did, I blotted. This is why I left this drying footage in. I would blot this up because as I'm heating the paint, there was still some of that petroleum jelly underneath the paint, and it would continue to melt and kind of seep out. And what it did was it covered my entire page in a layer of petroleum jelly, which is not good because nothing sticks to it. That's kind of the beauty of this technique, but the problem is nothing sticks to it. So I had a really hard time adding stuff after this. So that's just one thing I would caution you to be aware of. That and the hideously long drying time. Yeah, it took probably 2 or 3 hours just to get these first couple of paint layers down, just because you want to let it dry as much as possible. It probably wouldn't have been so long if I didn't have that stupid little inclusion thing in there, but I actually really liked this, the fact that that one was an envelope, so I dealt with it, and you'll see. So again, drying, wiping. A lot of the silver came off. I don't think I waited long enough on this side. I was getting impatient at this point, because that's me. I just can't sit around and wait for it. So yeah, I went through the other day. I did a video and I was digging through the trash can looking for something for you guys while I was recording my audio, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many baby wipes. It was from this project right here. So now I'm just using a Viva Las Vegas stamp, and this is, it's a really cool stamp. It's got like compass looking thing and like directional things and a ship on it. It's really pretty. But I like it as a background stamp, so I'm just stamping it here and there with some hydrangea archival ink. And if you're wondering how that stamp is sticking, I used Aleene's Tack It Over and Over on the back of it. Just brushed a layer on and let it dry, and then it's sticky all by itself. And I usually get good impressions when I do that. I didn't with this stamp, and the only reason is because I'm trying to stamp in an art journal, and it's a very intricate stamp. This kind of stamp needs like a nice solid surface, and I just wanted some texture in the background, so it was okay with some smushy areas, and that's okay. So yeah, stamping still. And then dabbing. That one corner kind of got messy. That's okay. So then I liked this page a lot, but I felt like it needed some warmth to it. It was kind of nautical, which was cool. It kind of reminded me of a map, which my wife also said. She's like, it looks like a map. I'm like, you know what? You're right. It does look like a map. So, but she saw it after the fact. So I was looking at it and I thought, this needs some warmth. And so what I did was I grabbed my quinacridone nickel azo gold by Golden and some glazing fluid. I wanted to warm this page up, but I didn't want to add a whole bunch of that rusty color. So that's why I added the glazing fluid. I don't end up pulling a whole bunch of it off. I end up just letting some of the silver shine through. So as you can see, that rusty brown color, it's got a gold tint to it, so it's just a beautiful color. I absolutely love. If you get one color of golden paint, it should be quinacridone nickel azo gold. I use that color so much. Like, I think I'm almost out of that one. It's my favorite one. So, as you can see, like, just here and there, I just took my baby wipe and just kind of randomly brushed, because I wanted some of the silver to come through, but I loved that it turned most of the silver champagne, like a champagne color. I just thought that was gorgeous. And now it really looks like an old, rusty, cool, funky map. So, and right here, I'm just using a liner brush. This is a Princeton brush, and I'm just putting my title on. I took a chance and used my handwriting, and yeah, I don't think it's not too bad. This whole page is kind of conceptual for me, and what I mean by that is, well, let me get into that in a second. I'm using some India ink right now, and because of all of the petroleum jelly, even after the glaze of acrylic, the petroleum jelly is making the India ink bead up, and I'm going to end up having to go over this India ink multiple times with both India ink in a brush and Pip artist pens. So it was kind of a real pain having to add anything over the top after that petroleum jelly. But at any rate, and then I'm going to do some stamping with archival ink, which also had a hard time showing up, so I had to go over that again. So it was kind of a pain. But anyway, so this page was kind of conceptual for me, because I did all the journaling on the bottom and covered it up. And I've had people ask me before, you know, why do you journal and then cover things up? Well, a lot of times you're journaling about something that you want to get rid of, or you just want to get down on paper but don't necessarily ever want to read again. And that was definitely the case here. So I wanted to take the ugly, which were the words that I wrote, and turn it into pretty. That's the point of that. But as far as the conceptuality of the rest of this page, God, my hair is red. Yeah. As for the concept of the rest of this page, the left-hand side it says the hurt. The middle reminds us that we survived. So you start from the left, go to the right, and it gradually becomes, it's a journey. So that's why the title of this video is The Journey. And so even though it doesn't say the journey on here, the whole point of this page is that it is a journey. And I'm just stamping using little alpha stamps, FYI. And then using my Pip pen to go over everything to make it nice and dark. So, and you'll see what I mean as we continue to go through this page, as to how this page, just this one little page, not a whole book, not just this one page, is actually a journey unto itself. So, and I know that seems kind of, what's the word? I can't think of the word. I keep wanting to say highfalutin, and I know that's not the right word. Pretentious. Yeah, that's the word. I know that it kind of seems pretentious, but I don't care. If it is pretentious, I don't care. My art journal, my rules. Haha. So, yeah, just doing some more hand lettering. And I really should have sped this up, and I really should have done my hair. It's a mess there. Good lord. Yeah, sorry. So I have some footage shot right now, just so you know, regarding vlogging. I'm still debating whether or not I'm actually going to put it up and go that route. It's a lot of work, but I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to. So don't hold me to it, because if you expect it, then yeah. But I think I'm going to. So if you like vlogs, then or if you just want to hear me randomly talk and make stupid jokes, it's what I do. Now, I can't promise that every once in a while a swear word might slip into one of those vlogs, because I'm telling you, in real life, words happen. I will try to edit things out and try to be cautious, but yeah, sometimes that happens. So, right here I am using my Molotov white paint marker, and these are great. They're acrylic based. They have a very fine tip, and they write over almost anything. They're extremely opaque. This is the one product I didn't have any problem getting to write over the petroleum jelly. And everyone is always asking about, you know, white pens, and while it's not really a pen because it's actually a paint marker, they have some really fine tips you can purchase. And I think this is the fine tip, but then there's an extra fine and I think a super extra fine, and you can switch them out on the same pen. So I would definitely suggest you check those out, and the supply list will be on my website, so if you want to go check that out, feel free. Okay, so this is where we start getting into the journey. I wrote down some words that just kind of symbolize what I've been going through the last couple weeks, and you don't care, that's fine, you don't have to. And I took them and I tore them up. I knew these weren't going to be seen. This was, again, something else that I'm covering up. And so I didn't do anything fancy with it. I just tore them. And then all the ugly words, I literally tore them into pieces. And just shoved them in this little envelope. Like, yeah, go in there. Go away. So then I wrote love, and I wrote it really big, and then just wrote a quick little message to myself. And this goes on top of all of those torn up hideous words. Then I took this over to my sewing machine and I sewed that envelope shut so that everything is now permanently inside of that little pouch. So as you can see, the hurt reminds us that we've survived, and then I go through all of those emotions and end up with love on top, and then we get to this other side where it's just a bunch of random little bits of metal which just make me happy, and so there's no significance there, they just make me happy. I got this piece of chicken wire from my friend Monica Downing, and when she sent it, I got it at work, and one of my coworkers was like, okay, you either have a crazy person or you know this individual, because I sent you very random things. I'm like, oh no, this is gold for people like me. You don't understand. So I'm just going through some of my metal bits. I have a bunch of like computer parts, and I found an old computer from when I graduated high school, and I tore it apart. I have all the keyboard keys, and I spent probably an hour and a half pulling things apart. So you'll probably be seeing some of that stuff coming up soon. And then on this little piece of aluminum metal, it's just a little piece of aluminum metal. I just took my quinacridone nickel azo gold, covered it up, and then I just took my skanky little rag once it was partially dry and kind of scraped it off. And I'm adding some of that quinacridone nickel azo gold to some of the other things, the key and some of those circles. And the little gears are from Michael's. A friend of mine got those for me, and they're by Bead Landing, so they'd be in the jewelry section. So, and now I'm just trying to figure out placement, what I'm going to do, which is funny because I go through all this and then end up changing it anyway, but that's okay. And then I was trying to debate what to do with this quinacridone nickel azo gold, and I just sprayed it with water and then put it on an index card. There we go. That was it. And as you can see, the Vaseline is holding down my chicken wire while the soft matte gel dries, and the soft matte gel did not dry like I wanted it to and hold that chicken wire down. So what I did was I took the chicken wire over to my sewing machine, and I just did a zigzag stitch over one of the pieces, and that helped the matte gel hold it into place. So then I glued everything down with a combination of matte gel and a little bit of hot glue. And this is a Tim Holtz Chit Chat sticker with spice marmalade and rusty hinge around the edges, and hot glued that right on the top, and it says peace. So as you can see, now you can understand why the whole page is a journey unto itself. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense now. It's not as pretentious. And then because I tied a knot in the top, the bottom strings were too short, so I just put a little bit of hot glue just to make them come out straight, just like the top ones did. And that does it. That's the page. So there's my little journey, and it was after this page that I recorded the audio for my Never Again page, and I was feeling a lot better. And so, yeah, art rocks. I love art. Anyway, I hope you like the page. Feel free to check me out on Instagram, Pinterest. All of the links are going to be in the last couple seconds of my video. You will see them, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.